So I am here just to provide you with additional information to answer any questions. I should also add that this federal money is, I have 2 minutes from Ms. Ravenel, which I believe only gives, you only get 1 minute. Oh, that's right, I'll only take less than that probably, but the city, in the expenditure of these federal dollars pursuant to the Workforce Investment Act, relies completely on the nonprofit sector to do this very important work for your constituents. These are services that involve counseling, training, data management, placement, payments to employers who are willing to hire people in our community who need some extra help. So it's actually something that I'm hoping that you will consider seriously. We've talked about this before. We know that the community and others as well, and certainly service providers, have a huge concern with the amount of money that the city takes off the top. This council has actually noted that and has required skin in the game. That is your term that you used about a year ago at this time. So I want to thank you for this opportunity to just give you more background. I can answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. And is there a remaining speaker or not?
I can be that remaining speaker.
Pardon me, Ms. Madden? Okay. If you wish to speak for 1 more minute, you may do so. Essentially, that person's ceding you time.
Oh, thank you, whoever you are. I want to actually ask for your consideration in the application of the city's prompt payment ordinance that was adopted by this council in December of 2007 for situations such as these. The prompt payment ordinance does exact or levy penalties for not paying promptly, and the concept here is that not only are private businesses harmed when they aren't paid, but nonprofits may be harmed even more when they are not paid. So I understand there's some gray area with respect to the prompt payment ordinance. I'm happy to have that conversation in detail. The way I read it, and I reviewed it very carefully, there is no exclusion for grant-funded programs in the prompt payment ordinance. There is no specific exclusion. Thanks.
Ms. Schaff, did you want to speak?
You know, that was going to be my question, because I was asking Ms. Cobb about this matter prior to the meeting and was surprised to find out that the prompt payment ordinance did not apply to this case. And I was curious, and I just want to recognize, I'm sorry she's not here, Councilmember Brooks, who led the charge on that. If it does not apply to grants, I was curious why it was not made to apply to grant-funded programs, because I know it is a provision of service. I know it was adopted prior to my time on the council, and whether or not an amendment could be made going forward.
An amendment to say what?
That the prompt payment ordinance applies to grant-funded programs as well.
Well, City Attorney.
And obviously we're not doing it tonight, I'm just wondering if it was a legal prohibition.
The language that says that it applies expressly and solely to contracts for purchases, and that would not be a grant. However, this council can certainly amend that.
So include it. Thank you. Through the chair, there would be no prohibition to applying it to contracts for services.
This says contracts for purchases. I think it would be purchases of services. Grant is distinct with different entities.
Actually,
Wait, that answers my question. Thank you.
if I may just add one.
Excuse me, Ms. Cobb.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Yeah. At this point, you're signed up as a public speaker, and it's not a dialogue. But if you would like to make a brief clarification, but we're not going to be going back and forth.
No, I understand, but I'm asking for some consideration at this point, as there is no specific exclusion in the language of the ordinance to exclude grant-funded programs. The harm is the harm, regardless. But I actually forgot the point I was going to make. Oh, I do want to remind the council, and I will, if I may, share with you a letter, but I want to call your attention from our...
Ms. Cobb, you've had 4 minutes to make your case, and I think the votes are probably there for your item, but it's time for the council to be able to talk.
Madam President,
Yes.
if you would indulge me, because this is responsive to the issue I was bringing up, and so I know you allow us to ask questions of the speakers when it's relevant.
All right, could I put something else in? The grant that is being discussed here is something that we are granting tonight. It is not, this is not actually about the WIB or WIA-funded work. There is not one word in this report that references the WIB or WIA, which is the only work that the Private Industry Council does for the city. We are tonight being asked to just give a grant of general fund money to a longstanding public benefit corporation that has served tens of thousands of Oakland residents. Due to funding reductions, the agency has experienced financial challenges. The one-time grant is in recognition of OPIC's valuable service for Oakland residents. So there is no prompt payment issue here because there was no, if there was work contracted to be paid for out of WIB money, that is where the money would have come from. And frankly, if we are talking about work that was done pursuant to a WIA contract, then the WIB board would actually have to approve the money. The only way that this can be approved tonight as a grant of general fund money is if you are acknowledging that they did not do it pursuant to a WIA contract. So it's either it's a gift, it is something you do because a grant. This has nothing to do with the prompt payment ordinance, is what I would like to put out there. But please go ahead with your question.
Ms. Schaff, if I can just make one quick response.
Thank you.
It is because this is not, the recommendation this evening is that this payment will not be covered or come out of WIA dollars. It is coming out of general fund. Thank you to the city administrator for this. But that is precisely why, in this case, the prompt payment ordinance would be applicable, because it is not, this payment is not grant funded. This is coming out of the city's general fund and would apply.
Well, thank you. It's a matter that we'll continue to look into. Thanks.
All right. Actually, Ms. Kaplan's in the queue before you, Mr. Guile.
Thank you very much. And if I may, just a brief question to the speaker, just to be clear. You are saying that you have explicitly been told in prior transactions that funding related to the work you handle is not subject to the prompt payment policy?
I have been advised of that verbally. I have asked for a formal opinion about it. I do not have a formal opinion. I have I guess what's an informal opinion kindly provided by Ms. Barnes, but that opinion actually says that it applies to purchases of services, which is exactly what you're doing when you contract with nonprofits. You are purchasing a service.
Well, thank you so much for that clarification, and thank you, and frankly to all the providers for this important work. And I think obviously tonight we should approve what's before us so we can move this forward. But I do think that this serious issue, which has been raised before, which is that funds to nonprofits, whether they're a grant or a purchase of goods or a purchase of services, do need to be prompt. And in fact, for some of our smaller nonprofits, we're endangering their very functioning when we don't pay them in a timely way. So I would just urge, and I'd be happy to work with any of my colleagues who'd like to work on this, that we bring back an amendment to the prompt payment policy so that the language, thank you, like Catherine across the eyes here, so that there would be no ambiguity that the prompt payment policy really is intended to cover all of these scenarios. And happy to move the item that's before us tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. I would just say ethically, why would you not want it to apply to nonprofits? Is there any reason why you wouldn't want it to apply to those who are struggling most in terms of the cash flow? Thank you.
Mr. Cobb?
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you for the information, Ms. Cobb. I just want to confirm, I was a little confused, maybe more confused than I came into this. I'm not objecting to this at all, it's only $2,000, but, first of all, just clarification, this is one-time money, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then to either the city administrator or Ms. Barnes, there was a suggestion that this money is in effect for payment, of things that happened in the past. That was what the testimony was. Is that because it doesn't say that in your brief staff report here, so I'm wondering, is there some confusion, or am I the only one confused here?
Through the President, as you have heard in the last 20 minutes, this has more history than you have time to consider tonight. It is a tangled web. By my estimate, we have spent over $200,000